On Sundays on Seahawks Today, we're spamming S in the chat to show some love for the Seattle Seahawks. It's our rallying cry here on the channel. And so what I want to do in preparation for Sunday is get the S's going right now. So if you're ready for a Seahawks win, if you believe in this team, if you want to get on your feet, get fired up, get ready to go, spam us in that comment section, and we'll get started here on Seahawks Today. We are talking about an updated list of trade targets. I have 5 new players that your Seattle Seahawks could consider that are on the trade block come the trade deadline on October 31st. So without further ado, let's get right to it. We begin with Leonard Williams, the defensive lineman for the New York Football Giants. And Seahawks fans know firsthand things are not going so well for the Giants so far in 2023. After it's just been a disastrous start to the season, Leonard Williams, a veteran player, would have to be a piece that the Giants would consider moving on from to try to get some draft capital for as the Giants get ready for this rebuild of sorts. And when you look at players that are on the market as far as defensive tackle goes, of those teams that are sellers, Leonard Williams is as good as it gets. He is the best defensive tackle that is truly on said trade market right now. Leonard Williams started out his career with the Jets, ended up joining the New York Giants in 2019. Pro Bowler back in 2016, an all-rookie team selection in 2015. Still brings a lot to the table at this point, despite it being a while since he had that Pro Bowl season. You see the numbers here so far this year. He's got half a sack, 18 tackles. 2022 had 2.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 45 tackles. All the way back in 2021 had 82 tackles, 6.5 sacks. The Seahawks could get creative. You could look at a situation where he and Jaron Reed are on the defensive line together. I know that some people are going to say, why would you need Leonard Williams if you have Jaron Reed playing at a high level? Well, strength in numbers. You could play them both, essentially, put Reed on the outside and let both these guys cook. So what do you think about Leonard Williams, bringing him to the Seattle Seahawks? I got a few more names that we'll get to in a moment, but what about Leonard Williams? Type Y for yes, in for no. Should they bolster the D-line with Williams? Let me know what you think. Number 2 on our updated trade targets, let's talk about Jeremy Chinn now. Jeremy Chinn of the Carolina Panthers is in a flexible role of some sorts. He's been able to play both safety and linebacker. And I got to tell you, I came into 2023 pretty confident about this safety position, but now I'm more uncertain about the position than I expected to be. Julian Love, if we're going to be frank, has not played that great. Jamal Adams already got hurt once. He did come back, and he did finish the last game, but you have to wonder how much can you depend on Jamal Adams. And then Jeremy Reed, who I liked as a 6th-round selection, he didn't even get on the field at all last week. So now you have to start thinking, okay, do the Seahawks need to think about other options? And a guy like Jeremy Chinn, maybe if the secondary does hold its own, if Jamal Adams and company stays healthy and all that, maybe you find ways to play him at linebacker or just plug-and-play type guy. That's what Jeremy Chinn potentially could be. Now, there's another thing to think about, though. He has a quad injury and is supposed to be out for the next 6 weeks. So if you're a team like Seattle that's expected to make a playoff push, this would be a trade where you're looking at a playoff piece of sorts if you're going to bring in Jeremy Chinn to the fold here. And because of that injury, you can get him for pennies on the dollar, essentially. It's not going to cost you a ton to bring in Jeremy Chinn. So far, through 6 games in 2023, he's got 23 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass breakup. Last year, at 70 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 6 pass breakups. Watch out. I tell you, Pete Carroll, Clint Hurt, they could get very creative with the role they could potentially carve out for a guy like Jeremy Chinn and not have to pay a ton to bring him in. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time, folks, is the place to go when you're looking for tickets to sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, theater productions, and more. You can get the best seats for the lowest prices, guaranteed. Look, recently, folks, I went and saw my Kansas Jayhawks play against the University of Texas. You know what I did? I downloaded Game Time, and you can too for your tickets to see the Seattle Seahawks. Here's what you got to do. Find the game you want to go to. Then you get the seat that you want. You look at it and you figure out, do I like that view? Maybe I don't like that view. And then within a matter of moments, you are checking out. You can use Apple Pay, Google Pay, just like that. Your tickets are right there in your hands. Maybe you decide on a whim. You know what? I do want to go to that Seahawks game. Kickoff's in 15 minutes. Don't worry. Game Time's going to get your tickets just like that. Here's what we're offering Seahawks Today viewers, folks. If you download Game Time and use the promo code Seahawks Chat, we're giving you $20 off. That's a Seahawks Today special just for our viewers. So, stop whatever you're doing. Download Game Time today. Terms and conditions do apply. Create an account. Get that $20 off with promo code Seahawks Chat. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Game Time for the best seats and the lowest prices, guaranteed. Now, let's talk edge rusher. Carl Lawson, a brand new name to Seahawks today, edge rusher from the New York Jets. The Jets are a confusing team to me, and I do think the Jets eventually will jet, and we will see them be sellers and move on. I mean, heck, they already moved on from McCole Hardman. Carl Lawson, I know what some of you may be thinking. Hasn't the pass rush improved the last couple of weeks and is headed in the right direction? To which I would say, yes, it has. But one thing I will continue to reiterate, you cannot have too many pass rushers. That's where Carl Lawson comes into the fold here. Another depth piece, another rotational player. I would be very excited. And you talk about consistency. In every season that he's played 12 games or more, he's had at least 5 sacks. He's not a household name by any stretch, but he's a guy that's played at a high level. Came back from an Achilles injury he suffered in 2021. The following year, had 7 sacks, as well as 9 tackles for loss. Production hasn't been there as much as we would have liked in 2023, but this is another bargain buy type player potentially in Carl Lawson. And as I've said many times before, and I will continue to say again, you are trying to compete with San Francisco. You're trying to compete with Philly. And what do those two teams do? They continue to add pieces to get those depth pieces to add on to their arsenal in the gun show of some sorts. And that's what this type of move would do. Is it necessarily a need? No, but it's strength in numbers. Who's the player the Seahawks should trade for? We've gotten a few that we've named on this show. Who comes to mind for you? Chime in that comment section. Drop me a name or two that you want to see in a Seahawks uniform when that trade deadline rolls around. We are here on Seahawks Today each and every day, and we're bringing you more Seahawks content than ever before here on the channel. And here's the deal. If they make a trade for anybody, for that matter, we're going to stop whatever we're doing, and we are going to bring you a video as fast as we can right here on Seahawks Today, because we're just built different around here. We're bringing you daily coverage. We do our live shows each and every week, our watch parties as well. If you love your Seattle Seahawks, you want more Seahawks coverage, this is the channel for you. Subscribe right now for free. We're going to be live coming up this Sunday, 12 p.m. Pacific time, Seahawks Cardinals watch party. You will not want to miss it here on the channel. We will see you then. Subscribe now and join us for our watch party coming up this weekend. Now to the offensive line. The Seahawks have weathered the storm of sorts when it comes to the tackle position with what we saw with Jake Curhan and Stone Forsythe stepping in with the injuries that occurred with Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas. But now there's been some injuries to the guard positions with Damian Lewis and Phil Haynes. Now, whether those guys and the injuries they've had and all that linger on or not, just the fact that it's happened and we've seen all the shifting around does make you start to wonder, do the Seahawks need to think about some guys that could step up and be rotational pieces or guys that you trust to start just because of everything that's been so makeshift? And there's a couple of players that are available. One in particular is Ezra Cleveland of the Minnesota Vikings. And you talk about a guy that's got Pacific Northwest ties. here's the thing. When I mention about plugging and playing things, this is a guy that is not going to be a peg that you're trying to put into a round hole of sorts. Okay? He can play tackle. He can play guard both. So you can just move him around. We mentioned, he's from outside Tacoma, played at Boise State, still young, was picked in the second round back in 2020. And you want to look at production? Ezra Cleveland solid all the way around with 372 snaps so far in 2023. His offensive grade, around 74. Pass block grade, around a 72, and a run block grade near 73. So he does everything well, and that versatility he brings to the table, I think this is a guy that potentially, with his ties to Tacoma and the Pacific Northwest, might be a guy that wants to stay around for a while. What's the biggest need for the Seahawks right now? When you look at going into the trade deadline and some potential moves for this Seahawks team to try to keep up with those teams we've talked about, San Francisco and Philly and others, what do they need to address? Chat in that comment section. Give me a name. Give me a position group that comes to mind of the biggest need right now. Last on our updated trade targets list, we turn our attention to Cody Whitehair, the offensive guard for the Chicago Bears. Now, the Bears are definitely a team that will be selling at the deadline because the Bears stink. This team is bad. And with Cody Whitehair, similar to Ezra Cleveland, it's another guy that's flexible, that can do multiple things. And when I was breaking down of potential offensive lineman targets, I looked at guys, in particular, these two, that can shift around because, like we talked about, injury and be able to do things. Whitehair is just that. He's got experience playing at a high level at both center and guard, was a Pro Bowler back in 2018 for the former second-round pick out of Kansas State. This year, not going so great in Chicago, if we're going to put it mildly, with offensive grades in the 40s, but you'd have to think that could be a bargain buy contract, bargain buy trade that you could make for Cody Whitehair. And quite frankly, that Bears team around him just isn't very good. So maybe a change of scenery could do Cody Whitehair a lot. So we'll see what the Seahawks do. Those are some new trade targets for the Seahawks. I want you to get in that comment section. Keep spamming us. Let's get ready for Sunday and have a great time. We'll see you then. I'm spamming us. You better be spamming us too, and we'll see you this weekend right here on Seahawks Today.